Task number 12, next steps. This is part of what the shell module. This module is a prerequisite of upload vulnerabilities modules, which is part of the complete beginner path on TryHackMe. And we have task number 12. Okay, we have a shell. Now what? We've covered lots of ways to generate, send and receive shells. The one thing that these all have in common is that they tend to be unstable and non-interactive. Even Unix-style shells, which are easier to stabilize, are not ideal. So what we can do about this? On Linux, ideally we would be looking for opportunities to gain access to a user account. SSH keys stored at home username and .ssh are often an ideal way to do this. The public key inside the .ssh directory. In CTFs, it's also not infrequent to find credentials laying around somewhere on the box. Some exploits will also allow you to add your own account. In particular, something like Dirty Cow or a writable Etsy shadow or a Etsy password would quickly give you SSH access to the machine, assuming SSH is open. On Windows, the options are often more limited. It's sometimes possible to find passwords for running services in the registry. VNC servers, for example, frequently leave passwords in the registry stored in plain text. Some versions of the FileZilla FTP server also leaves credentials in an XML file at C program files FileZilla server FileZilla server.xml or XAMPP FileZilla server FileZilla XML. This can be MD5 hash stored in plain text depending on the version. Ideally on Windows you would obtain a shell running at a system user or an administrator account running with high privileges. In such a situation it's possible to simply add your own account in the administrators group to the machine, then log in over RDP, Telnet, WinXC, PSXC or WinRM or any number of other methods depending on the service running on the box. The syntax for this is as follows: net user username password /add net local group administrator username and then /add, basically creating the user, adding to the administrator group. The important takeaway from this task: reverse and bind shells are essential techniques for gaining remote code execution on a machine. However, they will never be as fully featured as a native shell. Ideally, we always want to escalate into using a normal method for accessing the machine, as this will invariably be easier to use for further exploitation on the target. Answer the questions below, read the above information. Amazing. So in other words, if you have SSH on the target, try to connect to it. If you have RDP for Windows, try to connect to it, or for any other method to connect. Is much better than a reverse or a bind shell, even though we can stabilize those. It's greater to connect with a username and a password to a service.